AVtv is a product of the AV journalism class produced for the students of Amador Valley High School. The views expressed on the show do not represent the views of AVHS teachers, admin, or PUSD personnel.
Good morning, Dons. We are starting the show with a quick but important announcement. Late last week, after the governor announced that he and his team were recommending that schools transition their mask policy to recommended, not mandatory, many of us thought this meant that we are done with masks. It's important to remember that mask-wearing policies have not yet changed for PUSD. Students received an email from PUSD Superintendent Dr. David Haglund on Monday that stated, quote, "It is important to understand that PUSD must also adhere to Alameda County Public Health Department guidance. ACPHD has not yet adopted the state guidance and will provide an update later this week." He ended by stating that we should expect another communication from the PUSD later this week, but made it clear that PUSD must follow the county health guidelines. Now, Alameda County also released a communication that stated that, quote, "The Alameda County Public Health Department always reviews state guidance when it is shared with local health jurisdictions. In general, we align with state K-12 schools and childcare guidance. However, we make decisions to align local guidance with the state only after an assessment of how changes may impact residents. It is crucial that our local COVID-19 response continues to protect the public's health in Alameda County broadly and in the communities most impacted by the pandemic." So Dons, don't start throwing away your masks yet. This is an important time to watch for those email communications and read those emails. We will also be following the info released regarding masks and updating the news on Amador Valley Today whenever new info is released. Okay, let's get back to Matt and back to today's show.
Good morning, Dons. Today is Thursday, March 3rd, and I'm Matt. Let's get right into some announcements. Dons, don't forget that we have a minimum day tomorrow, so school will be ending early. Hopefully, our juniors can use this time to get ready for prom, which is this Saturday from 6 to 10 p.m. March is Women's History Month, a time where we celebrate the women around us and their achievements. We have a super interesting segment on why Women's History Month is so important. Let's check it out.
Women's History Month is a celebration of women's contributions to history, culture, and society and has been observed annually in the month of March in the United States since 1987. And Women's History Month will now take place from March 1st to March 31 in 2022. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential declaration for the week of March 8th to be National Women's History Week. The U.S. Congress followed suit the next year, passing a resolution establishing a national celebration. 6 years later, the National Women's History Project successfully petitioned Congress to expand the event to the entire month of March. Women's History Month is a dedicated month to reflect on the often overlooked contributions of women to United States history. From Abigail Adams to Susan B. Anthony, Dorothea Dix to Rosa Parks, we have a long timeline of women's history milestones that stretches back to the founding of the United States that ultimately led to how it is today as we celebrate Women's History Month in 2022 here at Amador. And this is Arlita Yang with AVtv.
Dons, this past Thursday, leadership put together a super cute way to show their gratefulness for our teachers with room service tags to put on their door. Let's check it out.
On Thursday, February 24th, leadership held a room service for teachers where they delivered a snack and a drink during fourth period. Teachers had to fill out a form beforehand, requesting what food they would like, and students would deliver it by the end of class. This was leadership's first year doing a room service, and it was done to show appreciation to our amazing Amador teachers. Thank you to the leadership class and our Amador teachers for all the hard work. This has been Carissa with AVtv News.
Now we have a commercial. With prom coming up, we've made a fun guessing game featuring Amador teachers. The rules of the game are simple. We'll be featuring a series of teachers' prom photos, and your job is to guess who it is. Let's check this out. now we have another commercial. Today, we have a special assembly with our counselors. Now we have Miss Yu to tell you exactly what they'll be discussing.
Hi everyone, this is Miss Yu, support counselor here at Amador. Later today, there's going to be a virtual assembly during your access period on making safer choices. I want to take this opportunity this morning to give an overview of this afternoon. In addition to an overview of this afternoon, I'm also going to cover who the speaker is. You'll get a chance to hear from some of your fellow peers, and I'm going to share some resources for students. With this virtual assembly, we hope that students will have some takeaways and that students will discover skills for honoring the boundaries of yourself and others, understanding the importance of consent, intervening when disrespect is occurring in front of you, and lastly, building a healthier school community. We understand that the topic of consent and boundaries can be upsetting. We want you to honor your own boundaries. If at any time during this afternoon's presentation is troubling you, come to the Wellness Center after obtaining a pass from your teacher. Now, who is Mike Domish? Mike Domish will be the speaker for this afternoon's assembly. He founded the Center for Respect, which conducts trainings for tens of thousands of students each year throughout middle schools, high schools, and universities. He's very passionate about sharing a fun, interactive, and thought-provoking program that focuses on teaching consent and respecting boundaries. He believes that by helping institutions create a culture of respect, we can produce a long-term impact on the overall school community. Next up, let's hear from some of your peers about their thoughts about the upcoming assembly. They'll be answering 2 questions. What does consent mean to them? And why they think it's important that we have a consent assembly.
Consent to me is agreeing to an action based on your knowledge on what the action involves.
Consent is telling someone your intentions and you have to agree to them. If this person does not agree, it is not consent and you have to make sure to be direct and clear.
Right, so to me, consent is when both sides of the party agree with whatever activity they're doing throughout the whole activity until they're done with it.
Consent is saying yes or agreeing to terms without coercion.
Consent is important to establish a relationship between 2 individuals, and doing so allows you to have control over your actions.
Consent to me is just being aware of what's happening and saying yes and saying no to what you want, and just being more aware of what's happening around you.
What consent means to me, it means that you have the power to know the decisions you want to make, and no one else has the power over you but yourself. It's important to have an assembly on this topic because many kids from our high school might not know what it means to give consent. It's important to learn about consent because there are many people that don't know how to say no, and it's okay to say no.
It's important to learn about this topic because many students need to know that their voice matters, and if you don't agree to something, you don't have to do it. This also teaches you to respect others and their decisions.
I think having a consent assembly is very important because, especially in high school, I feel like it's a time where you get more contact with that side of, life. And especially with learning health in 9th grade, I feel like it's very important to have high schoolers understand, especially when they're in so much contact with that experience.
We need an assembly for consent because people can confuse agreeing to something and consent, which are different things, because somebody can persuade you to do something that you don't necessarily want to do, rather than consent is willingly saying yes to something that you do want to do.
Having a assembly about it, probably to have a reminder and to know that you're not pressured into doing whatever you don't want to do.
It's just important to spread awareness about what's happening and spread awareness about things like consent, just so people are more aware of what's happening around them and just so they know stuff about.
It's important to have an assembly about consent because not only younger kids need to know, but older kids also need to know that you can make the decisions you want to make and no one else could push you or make you believe that you want to do something that you really, truly don't.
Thank you to all the wonderful students we just heard from. They did a great job articulating why having a school-wide assembly on such a topic is important, and we hope that students are going to be engaged this afternoon. Here are some resources that may be helpful. It includes some hotline numbers like the National Sexual Assault Hotline, the National Teen Dating Helpline, and the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Your teachers also received an electronic copy of resources that you are welcome to ask your teacher to check out. There will also be resources available in the Wellness Center and the Counseling Office if needed. Remember, there will be counselors at the Wellness Center during access period to offer support. Ask your teacher for a pass to come to the Wellness Center. Please don't hesitate to reach out to a counselor if you need additional support. Take care of yourself.
Now it's time for the photo of the week. You can submit yours to avtv@rocketmail.com. Well, that's it for today. Make sure you hang around for today's birthdaygrams and check back in with us next Thursday for more news, announcements, and profiles. Thanks for joining us. And remember, Dons, it's always a beautiful day here at Amador.